That suspect, George Brinkman, holding police at bay in Brunswick, was in contact with Cleveland 19 when this standoff started.
Lacey Crisp joining us now. And Lacey, you were speaking with Brinkman via Facebook Messenger simply because you sent him a message when you realized he was connected to one of the murder victims.
So I had covered this story since Sunday evening. We got the call saying that there was the possible, 3 people deceased in the home. So we went out there. I covered it all night. I was back out there on Monday morning. So we were looking for people who knew the victims, to try to personalize them so we could find out a little bit more about them. And George Brinkman was one of the people I reached out to. He's friends with all 3 of those women. He commented on their Facebook pages a lot, on their pictures. And so I reached out to him and I said, would you mind sharing a few stories with me? And he said, sure. And then he said he had to work. He didn't end up meeting up with me. He tried to set it up again for later in the day. He didn't end up meeting up with me. And then at 9:48 last night, he started sending me messages saying essentially, there's a hostage situation. Please come. Cops came for me. I'm barricaded. No lies.
So were you reaching out to police at this point? What were, you talked to police. What were they telling you to say? How were they telling you to handle this situation?
So I was talking to him for maybe just a couple of minutes. Of course, I called into the station, let them know, talked to police, and they essentially told me, make sure that you keep talking to him. Try to encourage him to come and talk to us, because I don't know at that point that he was talking to them, communicating with them. So they said, try to encourage him to talk to us or to come out. So I told him at one point in time, walk out with your hands up. Please continue talking to police.
And what is he saying this whole time about this investigation and why police might have been surrounding his house?
So obviously earlier in the day, I had no idea that he may have been a person of interest. So when he was telling me, I knew that the SWAT team was heading out to a location. So when he started messaging me, surprise doesn't even begin to cover it, this guy that I was talking to all afternoon. And so when I talked to police, they said, just make sure he keeps talking to you. And he said, they're trying to pin this murder of my friends on me. I've known Sue since I was in elementary school. I was there when Taylor was born. I would never hurt them. I love them. It was an unnerving conversation with him.
I read through your conversation. Was there any sense in this conversation that you started to think that, yeah, I think maybe police have the right guy? And it had to be an unnerving situation as you went through it.
He kept telling me that he was innocent, that he didn't do it. So I never kind of thought, did he or didn't he? I just wanted to make sure that he was still talking to police, still communicating to police. You know how those situations, they don't always end in a peaceful manner.
Right.
And that's kind of what I was hoping. In talking with police, that's what they were encouraging me to do as well. They stopped communication with me, George did, around 10:30, and police said that they were doing some tactical things to make sure that he couldn't talk to me. So then it had been a few hours until I heard from him again. It was like 2:30, 2:45, and he started sending me messages again.
He turned on you a bit.
And his tone definitely turned. He started swearing at me, cussing at me. He started blaming me for working with the police.
How are you doing? I know you're a reporter covering this story, but...
Yeah, I haven't slept. I've been up. We're not the story. And so to be involved in a point where we don't like to be, it's unnerving is probably the best way to describe it.
Not judging his innocence or guilt, because that's not our job, but it tells you a little bit about his state of mind, that he actually thinks that you may be somebody that could actually help him, when of course you can. We've got to thank you right away, but we've got to go to the Stark County Sheriff's Office now.
Now, that suspect holding police at bay in Brunswick was in contact with Cleveland 19 when the standoff started.
Yeah, he was talking to our own Lacey Crisp by way of Facebook Messenger. And Lacey, I understand that you sent him a message when you realized that he knew one of the victims.
Yeah, I saw on Facebook that George Brinkman was friends with all 3 of those victims, Suzanne, Taylor, and Kylie. I had no idea he would message me later last night saying he was the suspect, and police had him surrounded.
Just before 9 o'clock Monday night, I got a tip police were surrounding a house for a possible suspect from the triple murder in North Royalton. Almost an hour later, I got a message from a man who was friends with the victim, a man who I tried to meet up with for an interview earlier that day. Here is part of our exchange. George Brinkman said to me, Valley Forge Drive, Brunswick, hostage situation, please come. Cops came for me. I'm barricaded, no lies. And I told him, get out of the house, hands up. I called Brunswick police and made sure they knew Brinkman was talking to me on Facebook Messenger. They told me to continue talking to him to encourage him to go to police. I said, can you tell me what happened? And he responded, I'm being blamed for Sue and her daughter's death. I had a broken hand since Friday. How could I control 3 adults with a broken hand? He messaged me from just before 10 until 3 a.m. and was taken into custody around 5:30 a.m. I tried to get him to talk to police. I said, please continue to talk to them. Please let me know if I can do anything. George responded, just let everyone know that I would never hurt Sue or the kids. I loved them too much.
And just to be clear, when I asked him for an interview, I did not know that he was a suspect. We talked to dozens of people on Facebook like Brinkman every day for stories. Now, it was hard for me as a mom of 2 daughters when I realized I was talking to a man accused of killing a mom and her 2 daughters. It was an unnerving evening for me.
Unnerving for sure. Great job keeping your composure in all of this. So I'm fascinated. The police said to go ahead and keep communicating with him as this was all going on.
Yeah, he was responding to me. I don't know if he was responding to them, but they told me to keep encouraging him to talk to them, to try to go out of the house and leave with them so we could end peacefully. He was telling me later, like, goodbye, this is it. So I was worried how it was going to end. I was glad to hear at 5:30 in the morning that he went peacefully.
And again, at one point you told him, go out with your hands up, try to end this. Okay.
Right.
All right, very good. Lacey, Chris, great job. Thank you. All right.
George Brinkman is Facebook friends with Suzanne Taylor, Taylor Pfeiffer, and Kylie Pfeiffer. I was trying to reach out to their friends and family to learn more about them. Well, George Brinkman was one of those friends.
On Facebook Messenger Monday afternoon, George Brinkman told me he knew Sue since elementary school. He added, I gave Taylor the nickname Timmy, and she gave me Dino Man from Jurassic Park. Dino Man always was there to save her, just not this time. Well, Brinkman did not show up for an interview. He messaged me again Monday night telling me police had surrounded his house. I'm being blamed for Sue and her daughter's death. I had a broken right hand since Friday. How could I control 3 adults with a broken hand? He never confessed to any crime, but did tell me, just let everyone know that I would never hurt Sue or the kids. I loved them too much. He stopped talking to me for a few hours, then realized I had been telling police what Brinkman was telling me. He sent me a final message saying, I reached out to you because I thought you could help. Instead, you stabbed me in the back. Thanks for that. I regret trusting you. My mistake.
At that time, police told me to stop talking to Brinkman. It was unnerving to find out I was talking with a man who would later be accused of killing 5 people. Getting answers, Lacey Crisp, Cleveland 19 News. I reached out on Monday afternoon to George Brinkman because he's Facebook friends with all 3 North Royalton homicide victims. When I reached out to him, I did not know that he was a suspect.
I asked Brinkman if he could talk to me about Suzanne Taylor, Taylor Pfeiffer, and Kylie Pfeiffer. He told me he's known Sue since they were in elementary school. And while talking about the family, he also told me on Facebook Messenger, I'm having a hard time keeping it together. I lost my mom a couple years ago, then my brother, now them. Around 9 o'clock, I got a tip that police were surrounding a house of a possible suspect in the North Royalton homicides. About an hour later, Brinkman messaged me on Facebook saying, hostage situation, please come, cops came for me. I'm barricaded, no lies. I called Brunswick police and told them the man I tried to interview earlier in the day was messaging me, telling me he was the suspect. He messaged me saying, just let everyone know that I would never hurt Sue or the kids. I love them too much. Several times he told me goodbye and that it was too late. He stopped talking to me for a few hours. Then just before 3 a.m., he realized I sent his messages to police. He told me, you were working with police trying to trap me, and I thought you were legitimate.
It was unnerving as a mom of 2 to find out that he was accused of killing a mom of 2 daughters. It also gave me chills when I found out he's also accused of killing 2 more people. Getting answers, Lacey Crisp, Cleveland 19 News.